And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat.
We went through counseling for 5.5 years, you know, and I think it's very important for a lot of trans people in general to put the children in counseling, to get them more understanding of what they're getting themselves into, because not everybody is going to accept you right away. It was best for him to give me the opportunity to have a choice, or him have a choice, and together we both made one. And his choice was first, and then I accepted it.
Hey, Queen.
Hey, man, you better watch how you talking to me, man, for real.
Did you care about that when you were trying to kiss me? Aaron.
What the fuck you want to do? Keep it in 100,
What the fuck you want to do?
Tell us the truth!
All right, what's good, YouTube? It's your man, Book of F. Running Man, a.k.a. Dr. BOA. Yep, I got time today. There's an attack in this society on masculinity. We all know it. We all see it because they all show it. And it is really becoming a problem when Black folks in America start to perpetuate it in their own community. And one example of that is Jemele Hill. Now, Jemele Hill is a woman that I just have never believed has much sense. She's just not a very sensible woman. She doesn't have good common sense.
I've often said when they started dating and, you know, we saw the pictures of them canoodling and all this other stuff. What's the conversation like between a 72-year-old and a 24-year-old? Like, what y'all talking about? What's y'all point of references? Like, you know, like in any relationship, especially if you're around the same age, it's like, you know, you can say, hey, we both grew up watching The Cosby Show. Hey, we both grew up watching Different World. We both grew up watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, when one of them was born, TV was still black and white.
She just opens her mouth and whatever comes up, comes out. She says some of the most outlandish things over the years, and she believes that she speaks for a group of people who don't resonate with her, don't identify with her, and don't even like her. And in this clip, we're going to hear her talk about adamantly how men who decide that they want to be women should be allowed to function in society as women, should be able to compete in sports with women, even though we've seen how horrendous that can be. Just how horrible it is to watch a male compete in physical sports with a female. We've seen how horrendous it is. Also, she believes that a man who declares he identifies as a woman should be able to go into male restrooms. Well, guess what? Adult males and children go into the same restroom. You understand? Toddlers, teens, and all of those. Now, toddlers probably going to have a parent with them, but teenagers go into the same restroom as those adult males. Women who decide that they suddenly want to live as men, they get to go into male restrooms. Well, guess what? There's little boys in there. How do we know something foul is not going to happen? Are we just going to expose the boys to this? But let's take a look at this video of her, man, looking like a total imbecile in front of people who are trying. The other Black women on the panel don't want to touch this because they know how illogical she sounds. And watch how she allows the white male host to just make her look like a complete idiot. And we'll come back and chop it up on a real tip.
The other problem, Scott, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't.
Now, when you see this, it reminds me of this situation that happened in a prison. I think it was in Mississippi or somewhere down south, where this man who identified as a woman was approved to be housed in a female prison. Now, still had all of his male parts. A few months later, those women prisoners come up pregnant by this guy.
A transgender female inmate has been moved to a men's prison after impregnating two other biological female inmates. We're talking about Demi Moore, or Demi Minor rather. Don't want to make that mistake. Demi Minor. She was born male, but she started her transition as a woman in 2020. Minor has been blogging about her experience in the men's facility. She says she suffered physical and psychological abuse despite her own actions of getting women pregnant in the female facility.
Now, what if there had been a teenage girl in a restroom? What if there had been teenage girls at a girls' group home and this guy had been allowed to be a teacher there, an instructor there, a counselor there, because he, quote unquote, identifies as a woman? What if that had happened? And it possibly could have happened. You know what I mean? See, these type of situations cause greater damage to children than they ever will to adults. Even the children of those women who got pregnant in prison, those women in prison, they shouldn't be pregnant in prison. These are children that are going to be born to women in prison, automatically stripped from their mothers, automatically unable to bond with their mothers. Because this system says that if someone wakes up and decides they want to be something they weren't born as, they can just do it. Now, there's a fix to this. There's a fix to this. You should make people who identify as transgender, you should make them go ahead and have some type of surgical procedure that cements them as what they claim to be.
Is there a danger in allowing people to decide their gender in the prison system when there is no paperwork or history to prove it? Your thoughts on that, Jamie?
My personal thoughts on this subject are, if you have not gone through the entire gender reassignment surgery, I've never heard of people going to the prison of their choice. You know what I'm saying?
It happens in New Jersey, and that's the reality
Apparently
there.
it does. Apparently it does. But I am of the belief that if you still have a penis, then you belong in a men's prison, even if it's in a protected unit. But I don't feel like you belong in a female population where this sort of thing can and will happen.
If you're a man and you profess that you're a woman, well, guess what? You should go have a reassignment surgery so you can fulfill your dream and goal of being a woman. Society should support this. I support, if you're a woman who identifies as a man, they should offer you a free surgical procedure to get you right and let you be the man that you've always known you were. Same token, if you're a man and you identify as a woman, this society should be responsible for this foolishness that they're perpetuating out here. Show us that you're real about it and make that man go through a surgical procedure, some type of reassignment surgery that makes him happy that he can finally be the woman he's always viewed himself as. And when that happens, at least there's no confusion. You have to pick a side, like this woman.
When I was younger, I called him my mom. I started calling him my dad when I was probably in middle school. He's always there for me whenever I need something.
When he went through his process, I was 11 years old.
How did your dad first broach the topic of transitioning with you?
He asked me how I'd feel about it, and I said, if you want to be my dad, you can be my dad because you already dress like a boy anyways. And don't let anyone bring you down. Just do what you want to do.
We went through counseling for 5.5 years, and I think it's very important for a lot of trans people in general to put the children in counseling, to get them more understanding of what they're getting themselves into, because not everybody is going to accept you right away. It was best for him to give me the opportunity to have a choice, or him have a choice, and together we both made one, and his choice was first, and then I accepted it.
That's like some of the weirdest shit I've ever heard.
I could say something that isn't even really negative towards transgender people. It's just the simple fact that whether it's because as a parent, you just feel at a certain point after your kid is here and already growing up that you got to do something just for you and not for the kid that your life is now supposed to be dedicated to. Just that mere concept is like, you got a whole ass kid to look out for, and you're like, but what about me? You know what's on my heart? Transitioning. It's just like the single moms. It's like, yeah, I got a kid, but man, when am I going to get to feel good? And when am I? And I always look at those women like they're not even transgender, and I look at them like, yo, who cares if you feel good? You brought a whole kid into the world.
Yeah. Because you were trying to feel good, and the end result of you feeling good, what's this kid you brought into the world? Man, it's about consequences and repercussions, bro. For some reason, we live in a society where there's a group of people, normally people who bleed once a month, that they don't care how their actions affect anyone except themselves. If they get what they want, they don't care. They'll do anything. They'll literally do anything, bro. And they're manipulative enough to manipulate any weak mind, not just a child, but a weak-minded man into accepting something, because there is no force of manipulation greater than a woman who can turn her emotions on and off, bro. I learned this so long ago. I saw a little girl, man, that was at a family reunion. This little girl had to be like 3 or 4 years old. There was some little kids that she was smaller than them. You know, they didn't want to play with her. They didn't want to slow down to play with her. Like, these kids were 5 or 6 years old. They were rolling. She couldn't keep up. So she just fell on the ground, crying, temper tantrum. Dad came over and picked her up and started all that, talking to her, man. She was boo-hoo, crying her eyes out. I was like, man, take that kid to the emergency room, dog. Her blood pressure's going to be too high. He walked off with her, and when he walked off with her, her head came up behind him, and she was looking at everybody with this big smile on her face. I said, get the out of here. Yo, she was just about to die. And she's looking at everyone like, wrapped around my finger. And I was like, yo.
At that young age.
At that young age, bro. And I just noticed that I've watched women manipulate themselves into tears over some shit that I said, dog. And I was like, I've always been fascinated by it since that little girl. I was like, okay, well, little kids, little babies like that, they just babies anyway. They spend a lot of time crying. Grown women, dog, they have to work it in. And so I asked the woman once, I said, listen, I know you be fake crying and shit. That's why I don't ever respond to it. You know, I just tell you, go in the room, you know, come back out when you feel better. Well, I would never talk to a woman while she crying. But one thing, I don't understand what the hell you saying, and I'm just looking at you like you stupid. But she admitted, dog, she said to do that, she just think about the worst thing that's ever happened to her.
To fake cry to get what she wants?
Yep. She just thinks about the worst thing that ever happened to her.
Method acting.
And turns that shit on, bro. And I was like, you know what? That's for some of my earliest content. I said, man, your woman is a modern Halle Berry. You just haven't given that bitch an Oscar award yet. Like, she's an actress, bro. Women are phenomenal actresses, dog. You ever had a woman, man, giving you dome, and then her man call her and she on the phone with him while she got one hand on your wood and she's on the phone with him, and when he's talking, her mouth is working. When she's talking, her hand is working. And then she get off the phone with him and kiss at him through the phone, give him a kiss through the phone and tell him, I love you if you only knew how much, and hang up the phone and go back to work and showing you how much she loves what she's doing. Bro, how can I not be scarred? And I won't even say scarred. How can I not be absolutely informed about what a woman is capable of? I've seen too much of it. That let me know that a woman has no concern for anything that has to do with your feelings, her child's feelings, her mom's feelings, her dad's feelings, anything. The only feeling she cares about is her own, and she'll do anything to protect them. And that's just what it is. And it's not bad. It's not good. It's just true. There's not one bad thing I've ever learned about women. I've only learned true things about them. And you know how it is, man. Like, when you're a certain kind of man who just understands that, okay, I'm a man, she's a woman, she is who she is. When she act a little stupid, I take much of that shit as I can before I send her home, because I know it's coming. When you accept them for who they are, they just become women when they're around you. Now, they still have their particular nuances that rear their head. That's the world we live in, man.
Yeah, and hey, man, an important question to ask is, where's the father in this scenario to protect this kid from a situation like this? Because I've seen a couple of scenarios in my life where, like, a honest, hardworking father do right by his kids. His wife, who is also the kid's mother, loses her shit, and he shielded them from it, tended to it in however he needed to tend to it. But, like, okay, the woman lost her mind. It happens, but I'm making sure the kids are still straight and they don't see much of that.
Yeah,
that's what this brought to mind also.
Yeah, I had a neighbor once, man. He ended up being, I can't call him a partner, man. He was a bad luck guy, man. Only time I ever fell in the river, man, when I was in the boat with him. He married a woman, man, and she was she was gorgeous, but she was bipolar, and she stopped taking her meds, and it put her so off kilter, dog, that he was able to go and get custody of both of his kids from her, dog. You know what I'm saying? But he went through some shit with her, dog. I used to just hear, I look out there, man, she threw a brick through his house window. Like, yo, what the hell is going on, dog? And he wouldn't do that. He'd be like, man, don't worry about it, man. I'm just going to get my kids, man. He get his window fixed, man. 2 weeks later, look out there, man, she bust his car window, dog. I'm like, yo, bro, why are you having to deal with this shit? He said, man, she bipolar, man, stopped taking her meds. And now that I went down there and tried to get custody of my kids, man, she's really going ape shit. But she was like, all she doing, you know, he got video cameras all around his house because he never know where she gonna attack. And so every attack, when she attacked this crib, dog, he had it all on camera.
He just racking up evidence.
Bro, he went in there and it didn't take any time. They were like, no, I mean, this is permanent. There's nothing you can do to ever get these kids. Again, by the time you can prove that you deserve these kids, they'll be grown. And they've been with him ever since, dog. And man, he was a good dude, come from a good home, man. He had both parents at home until they died, man. And he and all of his brothers and sisters were productive members of society, judges, lawyers. And he got him, dog, moved to Houston with him, dog. And it's a much different fight if she's not having these episodes. You know what I mean? If she doesn't have this behavioral disorder where she needs to be medicated and she's not taking it. There are men out here every day, dog, who go through this same fight and just get so tough because in this society, you have to prove that a woman is unfit before a court says to you, okay, you're a better solution for these children than she is. By default, they want to give the kids to the mom, just by default. You know what I mean? Which I understand when they're really small. But if you're talking about kids, man, when they get 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, man, they need guidance at that point. They need less of that lovey-dovey shit that a mom gives them, and they need guidance and prudence at that point. So it's a tough situation, bro. It's a tough situation, but no child is safe when left alone with a woman, dog.